For the past 2 years, Jocko Fuel has been the only supplement I've consumed. It's helped me stay in shape now that my competitive career is finished. If you've been waiting to try Jocko, the wait is over. Jocko has now teamed with Walmart, bringing clean fuel to the entire nation. Jocko Fuel is loaded with all the good stuff and none of the bad. And I'm talking no added sugars, no artificial sweeteners, and absolutely no gray area or banned substances. Just pure, clean fuel to power your performances. Jocko Fuel is now available in Walmart nationwide. Products available at your local Walmart are Jocko Malt, ready to drink, Jocko Malt powder, and Jocko pre-workout. How convenient. Guys, the time is now. Consider trying some of my favorites like Jocko Go and Jocko Hydrate. You can even do it online. Use code CHAEL30 at JockoFuel.com or just stop by your local Walmart and get your hands on some Jocko ASAP. Don't wait, might not last. Fuel up with Jocko Fuel and crush your goals. Now there's no excuse for not having clean fuel. Guys, I want you to go get Jocko Fuel today at Walmart. What do you do now with Ngannou? And did anybody care about this fight? Now, that wouldn't come in for being a jerk perspective. The numbers on TFL are not going to be great, but they can't be. Fury versus Ngannou is the greatest sporting event I've ever witnessed. That's true. From a what should happen, what's going to happen, makes sense, logical standpoint, that was one of the greatest sporting events I have ever seen. Like, if there's anything you're going to watch and then be inspired as a human being, hey, dreams can come true. I can do it. If I have the courage to try and I've got the grit to put some time in, most of those things are just words. Most of those things are things that you believe to be true because you've been told it your whole life, and you still haven't realized that you were told that your whole life just to keep you involved and part of the program. And it's a much more uplifting message than the opposite side of that coin. It's not overly a reality. You have a certain DNA, and that DNA can take you only so far. And I'm just sharing that because the numbers were terrible for Tyson versus Francis. But they weren't terrible because the world didn't care about baddest man on the planet. That was a great marketing tool. And they didn't care about the sitting MMA champion, heavyweight, versus the sitting boxing champion of heavyweight. The numbers were terrible because it was on at 11 in the morning. I was with Mark Andrus and we were planning to watch it. That night, I get a text from Kevin Ioli who's told me the show began and Francis walks at 1:50 in the afternoon. The show had already began when I get informed. So I'm just sharing with you, like, did anybody care about Francis's fight? Well, you're not going to see the world's greatest numbers. And you think, why are people in the crowd? Well, it was 3 a.m. Something like this, I read. And then the pay-per-view's at a bizarre time. And then you have Francis that goes out and put on what I believe to be his best performance. And I say that because I know what he was up against. I know those emotions. It's a very rare club. I happen to be in the club with Francis. It's a very rare club. And I'm just sharing, like, to get and go and put these things aside and deal with all these things in addition to the pressure of a potential imminent death of your career. And that's where Francis was. Had Francis got cleaned up, if the same thing that Francis just did happened in reverse, he gets dominated, cleaned up, and sent home in less than 1 round. It is a wrap to the entire career. So when Francis goes out and does that, I'm blown away by the double leg. I'm blown away that he has shown a new skill that he picked up in the practice room, and he was smart enough to scout his opponent enough to know it's safer in this realm. I was impressed by that. I'm going to be confronted with, hey, Chael, what impressed you about Francis hitting the most basic takedown of a double on a guy who's never had a wrestling match or a documented competitive grappling match? That's a fair question. It's unfair in many ways to Ferreira, but it's a fair question. How impressed should I be that Francis took down the only heavyweight to fight for a championship in any organization in the last 2 decades that was not a black belt in jiu-jitsu. How impressed should I be? How impressed should I be that Francis, a non-wrestler, scored a takedown against another guy who's a non-wrestler? Like what kind of bounce should he get? And it's a big question in terms of what's next for Francis. Because if anybody has demonstrated that he has options, it's only Francis. Francis is the only champion in a major organization or any organization that gets television time, who also contractually has the legal right to box. So it's interesting. I happen to be in Riyadh. I got a call, Bellator versus PFL. They invited me to come to this one, which is an invitation I would have loved to accept prior engagement. And they actually build an arena in a parking lot. And it's the parking lot of the arena where Francis fought Joshua. I just think that you might find that interesting, because even I, when I was there, and it was so beautiful, and it was so incredible what they did, even I'm wondering, why don't we just go into that building? Right? Like, it's not like Kiss is playing or the Rolling Stones, right? It was empty. Why don't we just walk into that building? I tell you that purely to make you go, that is kind of funny. So, Francis is a big deal over there. They like him, and they like working with him. We here in the States had problems with what Francis's idea of showing integrity to your contract versus what a U.S. organization believes is showing integrity to your contract. But they get along with them very well over there. And I just share that because what's next for him, everything was on the table, including retirement. Francis, just that I know of, well, let me do it real fast. 10, 12, 5, and 2. That's impossible math to do. That's impossible to know at 10 plus 12 plus 5 but 2. But whatever that answer is, I'm talking million. And that's just that I know. Just that I know that I can tell you for sure 100% that he has brought in the last, what has it been, guys, 19 months? So now you have a choice. You got an old man that everybody's coming for, and the world really just has one fight that they want to see for that old man. That's not his fault. Well, yeah, it is kind of his fault. He does a terrible job of promoting. But I'm just sharing for you that's not going to happen. He walked from that fight. That was Jon Jones. So now you have other fights that could be meaningful. They could be hard. They could be the one that bites him in the ass. But do you want to see him? And that's what I'm speaking to. I'm asking you. I think that Francis versus Tyson Fury works. I do. I think Francis coming off this tremendous victory with Tyson coming off a loss, I think it works. But does it work well enough to cover the spread? No, not even remotely in a fantasy, does it? Okay, great. Is there anyone else for Francis to box? No, I don't think so. But if he does box, it's for sure going to be a financial loss anyway. So what difference does it make? I'm asking you. I'm not answering this. I'm asking you. Now, to come over to the PFL, and by the way, to take that financial loss with that structure that's set up openly, we realize is not going to change things. It's not going to take opportunities from other guys. It's not going to cut down on the opportunity of doors staying open. I don't know if that's true in the PFL. Like, that is a very large chunk to pay a guy. $5 million when it's $5 million the opposite way. There is nowhere that spread gets covered. Nowhere. When I fought, I made a lot of money, guys. I could cover the spread just with the live gate. Just with the live gate. I got $4 million the first time that I fought Anderson. You guys heard me say it's more. There's your real answer. But we did a $7.6 million gate. Just the gate. I haven't got into sponsors and pay-per-views, and I'm just sharing with you that is not what's happening with Francis. It does matter. It does. And there isn't a rightful challenger. Problemo was a tough challenge, but it was the right move by the PFL. Because Problemo should have and could have won. Oh, and by the way, wants to stay active. So if he could take that shine off Francis and you got him and you run with it, that's a game that the promoter has to play. But now you're in a spot where I got to spot Francis $5 million for his next fight. I got to give his opponent $2 million. I have to. I'm $7 million, which I cannot cover at a gate or on a pay-per-view spread. Do I want to use him, or do I hope that he chooses to go and box next and I can buy myself some time? It's a very fair question. And what does Francis want to do? What are we going to do? Well, that's the point of the piece. And Francis doesn't do the world's greatest job of communicating with you, the audience, or having his thumb on the pulse, but he's surrounded by some people that do. So let's kick him off here, guys. Let's start brainstorming some ideas. You got 2 sports to choose from: boxing, MMA. What do you want Francis to do next?